Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Blockchain Chronicles Crypto News Edition with Jude Newcomb and Chris Bowe. It's been a little while. Chris, how are you?
Yeah, really good, buddy. How are you?
Doing all right, doing all right. I'm excited about what seems to be a good turn in the markets over the past couple days.
Yeah, definitely looking more positive for the Bulls. The Bears are out crying as per usual, but it's looking nice.
For now, I'm sure they'll have their day again someday.
Definitely will.
Hopefully it's not for at least 6 months.
Yeah, give us a little bit of a bull run, please.
Yeah. Well, as usual, Chris and I are here to talk about some of the recent developments in the crypto world, in the blockchain universe. We picked out 4 stories that we thought were fairly interesting. And the first one here, we are going to read an article, basically. And I'll put it on screen as Chris and I are talking about it. But Chris, do you want to talk about this one and why it kind of struck a nerve with you?
Yeah, I guess this one's the interesting one because we're talking market cap, and I think it's something that everyone looks at and everyone talks about, and I think a lot of people don't realize actually how it's calculated. And I guess for me, this article sort of spelled it out nicely for everybody that it's just the price the last person paid by the supply. It's not, everyone hasn't paid that much. It's not that much money in the market. It's just a formulation of last price paid. So
yeah, don't you remember like back in 2017, 2018, when one of the first things that people would ask when they were talking about a project that they were doing their own research on was, what's the supply? And then if the supply was like, like if it was even over like 10 billion,
if it got into the billions,
people were starting to freak out because they would start kind of doing their, well, what price is it at? And it's times there's billions of coins. And but I think this article makes like a really good point with not only how ridiculous the measurement is that everybody goes off of, which is, like you said, last price times supply, but also the amount of money that can be actually involved in a certain project it's way less than what the market cap symbolizes. There could be, it could take $100 to get the coin to jump like 500% in price, because of low volume or low liquidity. And, the market cap could show 15, 20, $30 million, but there's really, like $600 or $700 that was really put into the coin to get it there.
Yeah, and that's what I love. They sort of say it's impossible to have, $1 trillion, but there's not really $1 trillion in there. It's just one guy times $1 trillion coin. He paid $1 and it's a trillion supply.
Well, I guess it leads to the question, instead of just kind of leaving it there as a gripe that we both have, what do you look for when you're investigating projects, and you're looking at its valuation or its future? Like, what are the important things besides market cap that?
Well, I thought this was the gripe show, so now I'm pretty disappointed. No, but in all seriousness, I think you look at team, and we say this because I guess we've got a good team, so I think team's important, and they're there and showing up and working, and I think community, like you cannot beat a community that's involved and cares, and trying to build that from scratch is a massive task. And, if you
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, if you can start with a community that is there and engaged and talking about it, then you've got such a head start.
Right. And I guess you probably don't have to worry about something like valuation or market cap until you're bigger than Bitcoin.
Once you pass the flippening happens, then you really get noticed at that point.
People could start talking about different caps and things like that. But I mean, like you said, like if you have a good team, you have a solid community, and you're constantly building and putting things out there, then there really isn't any need to worry about, what the market cap is or anything like that, because it's like this article says, it really is like a pretty much a psychological number.
Well, it's interesting because people only worry about what they're told to worry about, and you see it in every cycle. It's like, the flavor of the month's what to worry about. And back in, like you're saying, 17, 18, it was market cap or supply really. The supply was everything, and now no one's worried about supply at all. So there's these
Right.
numbers.
Yeah.
That I
So
don't
if
know how to pronounce.
anybody's yeah, if anybody's watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on Spotify, just listen to this. Market cap doesn't matter. You're being told. So now no one's going to worry about that anymore, and we'll worry about the next thing.
Well, it kind of does.
Which comes
does matter a bit in that you can only hit a certain amount with the number of coins you have, and if you have trillions, you're never going to be $1 a coin.
Yes,
That's reality.
That's true. That's true. I guess you kind of get into, how much you're personally investing from a fiat money at that point, and
Yep.
no matter what the supply is or the price, like it would equal itself out dependent upon whatever coin supply you were investing in the first place at what time.
Yeah.
So the second story that we're going to get into is about King Bitcoin, and we have a TikTok. So let's show everybody that right now. All right, Chris. So here we have Mr. Hotshot, day trader, swing trader guy, and he's real happy about his sell in 2021 for $45,000 or whatever it was, and then he wakes up 4 years later at Bitcoin at $1 million. Yeah. So I guess let's talk about Bitcoin price. When this was filmed, Bitcoin, when that TikTok was filmed, Bitcoin going through kind of a tumultuous time. It was down near, what did it get to? It was like 39,000.
Yeah,
did it get into the 30s?
I think. Yeah, definitely into the 30s. But I try not to look at it that low. I just pretend to not see it for a few months, and it's coming back.
Yeah. So at the time, this person that made the TikTok was kind of talking about how, you might be able to make the right call, but to make the right call twice and to buy back in at a perfect time is like, it's a really difficult thing to do for most people. There are people out there that are excellent traders. They're able to swing trade, day trade even. But for the majority of us mortals, you sell at 45,000, you might be buying back at 45,000 or even 50,000.
48,
or
break out.
Yeah. Or it just flies back up in a violent fashion, and you just say, "Oh, I missed it," and then you wait and wait and wait, and before you know it, it's 2025, and Bitcoin's $1 million.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about the price of Bitcoin recently, and were you surprised of the dip, and have you been surprised at the quick turnaround it's had back above 50,000 today?
Definitely, the turnaround has been a lot quicker than I expected. I think I sort of expected it to slowly go up, but like you said, with Bitcoin, you can put on $5,000 in a couple of minutes. So
yeah,
it's really fun to watch when you're in and you can just leave it. That's kind of the ideal way to be, I think. But if you're trying to trade those swings, and it's on news that you can't control at all, you don't know when Elon's gonna send out a famous tweet on you or anything. So if you're trying to trade Elon's tweets, it's just madness in my book.
Yeah, and that kind of gets into the third story that we have this week. And well, let's show it first, and then we'll go from there. It's about China's real estate conglomerate Evergrande.
The bankruptcy of the Lehman Brothers happened on September 15th, 2008. That was the climax of the subprime mortgage crisis in which the housing market, the financial market, everything essentially collapsed. A company in China called Evergrande is kind of having a Lehman moment. Evergrande is one of the world's most valuable real estate companies. They have stopped paying their employees, and they have $300 billion in liabilities, the size of GDPs of countries like Ireland and Denmark, etc. That's how much liabilities that they have. Debt, so things that are going to mature soon enough, are about 100 billion. But regardless, their debt is under a lot of pressure. They over-leveraged on real estate properties in an attempt to grow their real estate empire. Now they're entering technical default. And this default on debt in value of more than what happened during Lehman Brothers. Not all of it's going to implode right away, but it's a lot of money tied up in this company. Rock, Vanguard, etc. all have exposure to. So the United States is exposed to a certain extent to Evergrande. But the big issue here is two things. Number one is they haven't paid their employees. And so employees have been protesting outside because number one, they're not getting paid, but number two, a lot of their wealth is tied up in the company. And so they're kind of freaking out, not only about losing their jobs, but also losing their savings. And they're in increasing trouble because it's like, okay, their bonds were just lowered. So everybody's like, hey, you're not credit worthy. We don't really want to loan to you. We won't give you access to a certain market. And the big question is, will China bail them out? Will they have sort of a Lehman Brothers situation on their hands? Because they have a large amount of debt. And the other interesting thing here is the supply chain. So they're a real estate company. So they'll have contractors that'll go unpaid. They'll have different homes that are going to go unbuilt. And so that just cascades down the supply chain, right? And so that's why it's a big deal that it's in trouble, because it could be Lehman Brothers 2.0. A lot of it does come down to what the Chinese government will do and if they want to kind of keep that market afloat. You know that Evergrande has been going through it for a while now? They were over leveraged so they could purchase more real estate property. And that's how you end up in situations like this with the bond value just collapsing. I think the important takeaway here is that right now the market is at all-time highs. Companies are borrowing at very, very low rates. Is that things do go down sometimes. And there's significant market contagion. So this is the China High Yield Index, which is what the junk companies, which is where Evergrande sits. And look at that. That's Evergrande driving the yields up. Market contagion in sort of the environment that we're in now is extremely problematic. So we'll see what happens with Evergrande and how it impacts global markets. Apple Day went fine, even though semiconductor.
All right, so this was a TikTok that I found over the last week, which I thought was really interesting. It kind of goes into the previous discussion we were having about how Bitcoin's price was going down. And one of the main reasons that Bitcoin's price was going down was it was reactionary. It was a reactive event due to this news that was coming out of China that was actually plaguing stock markets. And what I've found interesting about it is, you know, it seems that Bitcoin, the more that we move forward through time, the closer it's getting tied to actual, you know, stock markets and financial markets of all kinds worldwide. So it's not something that I really remember too much from the past. I have seen charts where people say that, you know, Bitcoin's price has followed to a certain extent, you know, the price of the stock market. But this really seemed, you know, like very reminiscent of when COVID came and kind of crashed the market. It did that with Bitcoin as well. But you see how Bitcoin is being more accepted in our financial markets these days.
That's the problem. The more people that get on Bitcoin, the more it just follows the old, you know, it becomes what it wasn't meant to be to start with. It just becomes another vehicle of everybody on. So yeah, it's just interesting to see the difference there. And I've never heard of Evergrande, to be honest, prior to this at all. But then they're this key company in the entire world market, and you've never heard of them.
It's amazing how things that you're not aware of can suddenly be blown up in the social media verse that we live in. You know, and it becomes this catalyst for why everybody should sell. But I'm sure that there's tons of people that are just like waiting for those moments to, you know, licking their chops, that are just ready to buy those dips, you know, and whether it's Evergrande or I don't even know any other companies that exist that, you know, it's just the flavor of the day, like, right? Like, I was even looking at an Evergrande story from yesterday, because this TikTok was like from a week or so ago.
Yeah.
And Evergrande had a 260 million. I don't know. It was a lot of yeah. They had a payment due, and I'm not sure if they followed through on that payment, and it didn't have a probationary period after it was due. Compared to previous loans that it had to make payments on. And that wasn't as big of a story, with it being, I think the trading was even halted on the Chinese exchange.
Yeah.
And, that seems to me to be a much bigger deal than just kind of the story from a week ago where it was like all this stuff could happen. Like, it's happening.
Yeah, it's
But
actually
like,
worse. Yeah.
yeah, but it's just the news cycles that we all live under in I think Western civilizations. It's interesting.
Yeah, I see it's so manipulated watching the forex markets and the crypto markets. You see the stories that come out and get replicated sort of suit the narrative that the banks or financial industry wants you to know. So it sort of suits where they want it to go, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll follow the Evergrande story. I don't really know if I'm going to expect too much more out of that. I think our media just moves from one thing to the next so fast that it doesn't even, it's not even funny.
I think we should call it Evergrande, like a good Starbucks, or it's a lot nicer, I think.
All right. So from now on, so it's either Evergrande if it's if it's just kind of a rumor, and it's Everventi if it's actually kind of tanking. Yeah.
Nice.
So our last story this week is another story out of China. Do you wanna take over, or well, let's watch the clip first.
Guys, we're here in New York. We're out of the bedroom, and then all of a sudden, China decides to ban Bitcoin again for the 100th time, causing the markets to shit their pants. But this time, it's a little more serious. This time, any cryptocurrency transactions are illegal. Realistically, this was coming for a long time, and hopefully now we can all stop freaking out whenever China does something anti-Bitcoin. Isn't it funny how every time China FUD comes out and the price dips, all the whales buy? Something tells me that this is orchestrated FUD.
Okay, well, there we can see that China steps in and bans crypto for the 157th time.
That's crazy.
4 years. Yeah. I think
I didn't get a notification for that one.
You're not on their mailing list. And I think everyone's come to expect these China bans. They're saying this one's more serious than the previous ones, but everyone's been more serious and doesn't really take the impact that it used to have.
Yeah. So your response to this when you first was hearing it, just kind of here we go again, or did you really not even pay attention to it?
Yeah, I don't pay attention, and I'm like, oh, we've heard all this before, and it doesn't really have an impact. They ban mining. I think we've done one of our stories on a China ban originally. I think that was our first episode, so that's how regularly these bans are coming in now.
We haven't done too many of these episodes.
No, we've already covered this story twice. So I think, it does affect the overall market. Maybe it slows it down slightly, but it's not gonna hold Bitcoin back.
Yeah, the thing that I was thinking of over the past week, and I'm sure other people have thought about this too, like who is this hurting? Who is this hurting? At the end of the day, this is hurting the people of China, and really the Chinese government could stand to be involved in a system like this. I mean, maybe they live in authoritarian, they have a dictatorship, and they want to try and keep control of the people as much as possible, and controlling the financial systems is a way to do that. But I'm sure in their dictatorial ways they could be creative enough to still participate in in the universe of Bitcoin.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the Blockchain Chronicles. If you like anything that you heard today, please give the video a thumbs up. If you want to contribute to the conversation that was had between the guests, leave a comment below, and we'd love to get your thoughts. Also, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll get notified every time that we upload, which we are looking to do a couple times a week. So make sure you don't miss out. So once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the future. Bye.